Okay, we're good to go. We have the internet back up and running, so we are ready to reconvene the meeting at 9:47. So, Carly, please continue.
Commissioner Peck, I don't know if you were done with your question, but to answer your last question, yes, this proposal for these elected officials is based on parity with Grant County.
And my recollection is that we have used Grant County in the past because of its similar size, economics, largely agricultural, some cities mixed in. Is that? I mean, let me ask it differently. Do you feel that Grant County is a reasonable comparator for us?
I believe for the elected officials, it's a reasonable comparator, yes.
Okay. Is there a reason why we didn't apply this to this comparator status, say, to the prosecutor's office? I realize we can't do it for the commissioners. We're doing it for all the other electeds except for the prosecutor, and I'm well aware of the calculations for how the prosecutor's salary is set, but how much the county contributes is up to us so long as we meet the minimum established back in 1978, I believe it is. So the question is, are we going to establish parity with Grant County for the other electeds as we're doing with this? And I realize that the prosecutor is the next resolution, but I'm looking to see that we're treating all of our elected officials the same if we're going to use Grant as a comparator.
Sure.
And if you prefer, we can wait till we get to that next one.
No, it's, we did a lot of work on the prosecuting attorney's salary in the last couple years. And so the intention of this is essentially a return to that status quo before the Salary Commission. And, that work that we did to, get that position to the point where it is, and then the statewide increases, on top of that. So for both the prosecuting attorney and the sheriff, these resolutions are intended to be a return to that status quo before the Salary Commission was implemented, and essentially a restatement to close the book on that piece and, essentially clean up the record for whoever comes in the future. As someone who had a really hard time ascertaining some of our policies when I came in, I want to make sure it's clean, so there wasn't an intent to make a change to any of the other salaries. And my understanding from the board was that their desire was to have, these 5 elected officials who have been, I would say, kind of on the side burner in the last couple of years, to make a proposal for their salaries that came from them. And that's what is here. And then I affirmed with the prosecutor and the sheriff that they are still, satisfied with how their salaries were set before, as it seemed to be the will of the board that the elected officials had a voice in that process, and they were. So we weren't looking to upset the status quo from that standpoint. Certainly, again, back to that legal opinion, the board can do whatever they want. They can make changes going forward. My intention here, and partly as a function of me departing, is to just fully close the book on the Salary Commission and set up a process that can move forward, and then certainly any changes can be made from there. But my hope is to put things on a path that it can function in my absence until a change is made.
So I'll just offer that process and parity are 2 very different things. And
Sure.
we'll have that conversation on the next one. Thanks.
So with that, Carly, what is the comparison of the prosecuting attorney to Grant County?
I don't have that off the top of my head, as that wasn't work that I did with. I may have that data.
When was the last
Available.
time that our elected officials had a pay raise?
2019? They would probably know better than 2019? 2019,
Okay.
For cost of living, that was a call.
yeah,
Call the cost of living, yep.
yes.
Is there any other questions?
When was the last time the commissioners had an increase? Was that the fall of, 5 years ago?
Yes.
I can answer the question.
Okay, yeah, you all will remember it. The years have blurred together for me.
It was November 2nd, 2016.
2016,
Because it was
yeah.
Election Day.
Yeah, so it's 5 years ago.
Yes.
And if I remember right, the meeting was moved to Election Day without public notice.
I can't speak
I
to
believe
that.
there
was
That's
remember that
outside of
was-
my wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Election days are always on Tuesdays.
right.
That would be the date of-
But our meetings at that time were on Wednesdays, and they were moved, it was moved to a Tuesday to beat the deadline to raise the salaries. I remember it vividly. So with that, I'll entertain a motion for 2021-298.
Make the motion to approve Resolution 2021-298 as presented.
Second, discussion?
There's been a motion and a second on Resolution 2021-298. Discussion.
Carly, would you outline for us the parity that this creates between our elected department heads and Grant County, which you've identified as the reasonable comparator?
This sets those salaries at 51.5% of the salary for Superior Court judges as set by the Washington Citizens Commission on Salaries for Elected Officials, which is the same as Grant County uses for those same elected positions.
So these should be, after this action, those salaries should be identical, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of Resolution 2021-298, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's appropriate to give people time to vote, and I vote aye.
Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. Move down to Resolution 2021-299, new process to set prosecuting attorney salary.
And just, I'll correct for the record that this is affirming the prior process. It's not a new process. This is essentially going back to the process that was used prior to the implementation of the Salary Commission.
Discussion?
So at this point, there's no increase in salary until July 1st, 2022?
Correct. And that will be a 1.75% increase on July 1st of 2022, which will now also be received by the 5 elected officials whose salaries were just set in conjunction with that same commission.
Which is tied to the Superior Court judge salary, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So Carly, the salary for the prosecuting attorney is paid partly by the county, and if I remember, the majority of it is paid by the state, correct?
The state contributes 50% of the Superior Court judge's salary to the county for the prosecuting attorney's salary, and statutorily, the county is required to contribute no less than what it contributed in 2008 to round out that salary. The work we did a couple years ago was, over the years, the county had been receiving half of the Superior Court judge's salary that had increased and then essentially contributing less, or contributing the same amount as it had in 2008. So the prosecuting attorney, kind of the net effect of that is they were receiving half of a COLA because the county was not increasing their contribution at all. And so a couple years ago, we went through that process to catch those things up to make up for that time.
So as I recall, the state does pay half the Superior Court judge's salary, and the county is required to make up an amount no less than what I believe we paid in 1978. I'm not sure.
2008.
It was 2008?
Yes.
Okay. In any case, was that 57,000 or so?
$54,129.50.
Okay, well, appreciate you having good notes. I'm working from memory today. So we've established that Grant County is the reasonable comparator. I'm just curious why or perhaps we should look at providing parity for all of our elected officials. We've just done it for most of our electeds. We can't do it for the commissioners, but that still leaves the sheriff and the prosecutor. Are they on parity with Grant County? I'm not talking about the process, I'm talking about their total compensation.
I don't have that information with me.
Okay. And so the resolution today sets a prosecutor's salary. Did we look at Grant County and whether or not we should be doing something to make it comparable?
I did not. The resolution today affirms the prosecutor's salary, not making any changes. Again, coming out of the salary commission to eliminate confusion.
Right.
This is just affirming what was the prior process, not looking to make a change. But
Okay.
certainly the board could make a change. But today, this being adopted today does not change anything for the
No.
prosecutor's salary.
No, I think I've sufficiently put on the record what I intended to put on the record,
Sure.
which is we ought not be treating our elected officials differently based on sometimes, and I'm not speaking to anybody in particular, but personal likes and dislikes, attitudes, opinions, whatever they might be. If Grant County is going to be the reasonable comparator, then we should treat all of our people equitably and equally to the extent that we can. So we'll make that a topic for future action. Thanks for helping me get through the details and put that on the record.
Sure.
So just to clarify,
Yes.
I mean, the prosecutor's salary was adjusted in 2019, so there'd be no increase until the COLA of July 1st, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And that would be a COLA, not a salary change.
Correct.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion to approve Resolution 2021-299 as presented.
Second?
There's been a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2021-299. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I want to make sure I don't rush you this time.
I appreciate the consideration. I'm prepared to vote, but you haven't called for nays yet.
Aye. Nay?
Nay.
Okay, with that, we'll move down to Resolution 2021-300, new process to set sheriff's salary.
And again, this is not a new process. This is affirming what was the existing process, which the sheriff's salary since 2017 has been based on a compression with the other command staff positions, 10% over the rank of commander.
Any questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain. a
Carly,
motion.
is this a process that we're using here in Franklin County comparable to Grant County?
I don't know.
Is it a common tool used in other counties in Washington to set the sheriff's salary? Do you know that?
I can't say how many. I can say other counties do it, yes.
Other counties do?
Because of the nature of the sheriff's office organization, yes.
Okay. Well, as you might have figured out, I'm keen on making sure that we're not picking winners and losers and we're treating all of our people fairly, so thank you.
Is there any other comments, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve Resolution 2021-300 as presented.
Second?
There's been a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2021-300. Discussion.
Carly, would approving this resolution change the current practice or adjust the sheriff's salary in any way?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask a question here?
Keith,
Is
please.
the converse of that also true, that if the motion fails, nothing changes?
Yes. However, it will be less clear. I think the record will get quite convoluted again over time, complicated by the short-lived tenure of the Salary Commission.
Is there going to be any effects to the budget, any increases in pay according to the way this is written today?
No.
Okay.
If there's no more discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
I think the motion's already been made. So we.
And it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Nay.
opposed? Okay, with that, Keith, we're down to administration office business.
Yeah, just for the benefit of the board, last week, this board adopted a mental health and substance abuse sales tax to go into effect April 1st. That information has been communicated to the State Department of Revenue. So I think we're all set to go to have that implemented on the 1st of April. Then the redistricting committee is meeting this Thursday, potentially to review their final maps and bring a proposal back before this board next week. That's all I have this morning.
Okay. With that, we're down to public comment. Is there any public comment? Anybody on the phone, Keith? Anybody in the audience?
No one on the phone at the moment.
George Dockstetter, 4951 Self Landing Road. I still don't understand why we didn't have our own salary commission. I was under the impression the reason we didn't is because you couldn't get H&R people to form a salary commission. Well, you've got plenty of businesses in town that hire enough people. They know what's going on in the county and in the state and what they're having to do in the private sector. I think it's garbage that we rely on a commission from the state, which is mostly made up of people from the other side of the mountain, to come up with a salary schedule for the employees of this county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask the county administrator to speak briefly for the benefit of the public to why our attempts to instill a local salary commission failed.
Mr. Johnson.
Certainly. Yeah, under the state statute that allows counties to create these kinds of salary commissions, there are some very specific requirements. I don't have those in front of me, but one of which is a specific experience in HR. One is specific legal experience. Carly, do you recall the other? I think there were 4
Labor.
Yeah, somebody that has
Business.
experience with organized labor,
Finance.
And business.
and then a general business. So we could have, we sought volunteers in a number of different ways, did not have people come forward volunteering. It was determined that an effort to recruit from the county commissioners or my office would have subverted the intent of making that committee independent. and it would have easily portrayed the salary commission as handpicked to a certain outcome. And that was the reason we had difficulty in recruiting volunteers to serve on that salary commission.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, I would like to say that this courthouse that we have had a birthday. The clerk of the board had a birthday the other day, and tomorrow is Commissioner Peck's birthday. So I'd like to wish them both a happy birthday. And today is the 2-year anniversary of my son's open heart surgery, which I'm so grateful for. So with that, if there's any other public or any other business for the good of the county?
I have just one.
Just an observation, if I might. I don't know if you're trying to age me out early or not, but my birthday's not tomorrow. But thanks anyway.
Oh, it's not. I thought it was. I got told it was.
My son's birthday is today, so.
Oh, there we go.
I'll take that one.
That's good enough.
Go ahead, Rocky.
Oh, I just had one question, being, still my first year in office. My question would be, when we vote, I was under the assumption that the chairman always voted last, whether it be yea or nay. I just want some clarification.
If you're looking at me, which it appears you are, there's no legal requirement that I'm aware of the order of the voting.
Okay.
I think there needs to be an opportunity for adequate consideration of those votes, so someone may take a moment to reflect on their final vote. But I'm not aware of any specific legal requirement in the order of voice voting.
I always was under the impression that the chairman voted last in case there was a tie.
Well, we sat together in the same Roberts Rules class at WASAC recently. May I respectfully suggest you go back and look at those notes.
I guess I will.
You vote in the affirmative, and then dissenters vote thereafter.
With that, if there's no other business for the good of the county, this meeting is adjourned.